Hello, 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 humans. It's me, Guy. It is Tuesday, March 23rd. This is California Times. Whew. Life is something else, ain't it, people? What a roller coaster. It's been, thank you, I've been okay, more or less. It's not easy. This little talk's going to go where it will. I really wanted to talk about the Asian racism thing. I wanted to talk about the mandated housing in California. I wanted to talk about so many things, but I'm going to, in light of the another shooting, which reminds me of how a friend on one of my shows said we were talking about the state of the world, and he calmly said that we are all mentally ill. And I think he was just talking about the sense of a loss of our inner peace, too much anxiety, a lack of vision of where we're going as a planet. So this is what's going on in our world. We need to not get stirred up into this realm of fear and hatred, which is going on big time, big time. And it seems like the loudest voices who are anti-hate are moving the flames. I don't know, just. I think one of the gifts of Thomas Jefferson may have been to hold a mirror up to all of our eyes to look into what is hypocrisy. Because I think everybody knows that Jefferson had slaves, and he was the author of the Declaration of the Independence, and we all know a lot of this stuff. But we all have need to take a look at ourselves and what's going on, and not pump out some fear about other people. So we had appears to be a person with a Muslim name who shot people in Colorado. If I go to the Mercury News in San Jose newspaper yesterday, a San Jose rally decries hate crimes against Asian Americans, which, everybody should be against hate crimes against you. But there's this thing about racism is a pandemic. Racism. See, I think it's bigger than racism. I think it's humanity going crazy. And to make it a racism issue is crazy. When you trying to look at the validation of these events in the Asian American community, because I was just stunned about how could anybody be hate Asian Americans? They're such decent, gentle, intelligent people who really, I don't think they're involved in any way taking advantage of anybody. Not that nobody should be judged by their skin color. So I don't know what's going on with that. But when I look for the evidence, I don't see it. It's just like somebody's just making this up just to stir the pot. Adam Juratovac, a Bay Area lawyer who once played for the San Jose SaberCats of the Arena Football League, said that he had seen anger around the attacks growing through the response to videos that he created on his TikTok page. His mom immigrated from Korea. He looks to be a half and half Korean American. He looks like an American to me. That's all I can say. I go to his TikTok site and I find out that he is an attorney, sexual harassment discrimination lawyer. So I assume that means that he makes his living by bringing claims against people for their harassment or discrimination. All I would get out of that is he was a speaker at this rally, is that he makes his living off finding and proving these claims. I don't know why. I think when somebody makes their living off of something, or you to take their word for the little less. I'm just thinking of the Lincoln thing about supposedly Lincoln put a 50-cent piece or a dollar piece or a quarter piece over a word in a newspaper, and he said to one of his friends at the table, God knows what, card table, whatever Lincoln was doing, and he said, "What's can you read that word?" And it was sort of attributed to Lincoln. Maybe it wasn't him. And they said no, because the dollar coin isn't over that word. How can I read that word? Lincoln removed the coin, and there was the word that was hidden was the word truth. So that would be my question to Mr. Juratovac. And then there was anyways, I San Jose Mercury News. I'm not going into the thing from Colorado. I'm going to edit a little bit here. Stop Asian hate. Enough is enough. Is there anything there? Is there there? And of course there are idiots in this world. I know there are idiots. There are. But basically it's still America. We're just turning on ourselves, and it's just terrible, and it's being fueled by right now, I don't know, people who are making money, or they're looking for power. So Mr. Juratovac, you're welcome to join me in a conversation anytime. Mike Honda. What does Mike Honda have to say? To emails imploring them to do more than pay lip service to racism against all minority companies. How about just inhumanism to all? I don't know. I finally went to, I went to the LA Times too. LA Times story. Asian Americans have been verbally and physically attacked, shunned during pandemic, study shows. Well, that's the question then. What is this study? According to a study released Tuesday, Stop API National Report. Verbal harassment, 68.1%. Shunning, 20.5%. I guess that means you get ignored. The deliberate avoidance of Asian Americans. Okay, wow. I don't know what that means. The deliberate avoid. Make up two largest proportions of the total incidents reported. Physical assault, third category. Women reported incidents 2.3 times more than men. All right. This is from the organization called Stop AAPI Hate. And I guess they document 3,795 incidents. Let's see if I can go to incident number 1,170. I guess they don't list them here. On Tuesday, 8 people, including 6 Asian women, were shot to death. Authorities said Wednesday that the attacks did not appear to be motivated by race. But that's still the example that was led off with this article. The 68% of the anti-Asian attacks documented in the study were verbal harassment. About 9% of the attacks were civil rights violations or workplace discrimination. Well, that maybe not quite an attack, but nearly 7% of the attacks were online harassment. All right, so that's not quite a physical attack. All right. Most of the events occurred at businesses or public streets. More than 2/3 of the attacks were reported by women. In another example, a ride-hailing driver in Vegas said to an Asian American customer, "Another Asian riding with me today. I hope you don't have any COVID," while leaning away from the client. In August, Hong Lee was waiting for tacos at a restaurant in Pico Union. The man started screaming at me, telling me to go back to Asia. The police officer refused to take the incident. He said, "This happens all the time, and there's nothing I can do," she recalled. He said, "There's no crime here." Well, they do have a lot of crime to look after, but there's a video of her event, and maybe you've seen it. I had to finally, because I'm looking for the incident and of the racism, and so, should I be sad to say that her incident of racism was what appears to be an African American man who's very angry at her, and maybe he's mentally ill, and that could be an issue that we're finding that we're associating with supposedly Asian hate. A lot of mentally ill people on the street. Did I open up the show by saying that we're all mentally ill? Anyways, I'm just kind of tired of the whole thing. I think it's just like a constant barrage of stories that don't have much meat on the bone. Not much there. But Adam, the lawyer, he specializes in discrimination. He's going to lead the charge. Hopefully he'll continue to get rich finding people to sue. Idiots. Okay, what else are we doing here? I know. I found this philosophy thing. I was looking up Nevada City and Grass Valley, and so that's a place I love up there in the mountains of Sierras, and it turns out there's a philosopher who was born there, grew up, and I never heard of him, so I looked it up, and his name was Josiah Royce. Royce, R-O-Y-C-E, 1855 to 1916. Went to UC Berkeley. Somehow he was connected with Harvard. These are real deals. Connected with a lot of major philosophic stuff. Objective idealist philosopher and the founder of American Idealism. American Idealism, I hadn't heard of that one, is an idealistic metaphysics that postulates that there is in an important sense, only one perceiver, and this perceiver is one with that which is perceived. Excuse me, this guy's heavy. This guy, he's not mine. Can you see the Buddha? He sits here in this room. It's good company. I wish I did have a little more Buddha-like peace, but maybe the Eightfold Path hasn't quite locked in yet for me. But back to Royce. There's this one quote at the bottom I thought was really interesting about our modern times. That psychology, talk about the psychology of humanity. Consider that the social self could itself become diseased. The social self could itself become diseased. That'd be us, humans. Think of the pandemic years. Think of the years before this Lockhorn hatreds of partisanship and left-right. it's out of control. And guess what? There's good people on both sides, and there's arguments to be spoken on both sides. People won't even talk with you or afraid to hear somebody's other point of view, particularly if you live in a distorted zone that's like 85% one or the other, which is like what I do. Maybe that kind of diversity we should mandate. But no, that probably wouldn't go. So anyways, social self could itself become disease. That is us. The quote is, seeing delusions of grandeur or persecution as distortions of everyday self-consciousness with its concern for social standing and reflected place in the world. Now, this is such a marvelous little line here. To me, the tendency within the social self, within the you or I, that we... somebody was saying I look like a professor a lot, and I'm really acting like it, but I can't help it. Here goes. Delusions of grandeur or persecution. Would those be like opposites of a polarity inside the human mind? I think we're probably, all of us can find some level of something to feel persecuted by this world. But I think this sense of persecution is being driven. That's the whole narrative of all this anti-racism stuff. As if here in Marin County, people think they're surrounded by a world of white hatred, white supremacy. Not seeing it's just all everyday people, everywhere we go. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. Some people have more conservative views than you. That's okay. No problem there. But when you make it this exaggerated sense of persecution, then whose hands are you playing into, which is going on today, and where are we going with that? We're just nuts. And then speaking of my sense of persecution, I feel like liberty is really important, like really fundamental, and that's why really this country has been so powerful. And it's been a battle, and it's Martin Luther King talking about his long journey to freedom back in the '63 March. It's nowhere near over, but whatever we've got to hold on to and protect, and we got to keep expanding it and get everybody up into the American Idealism zone, which is like I think practical idealism is what Mr. Royce, I'm hoping, was trying to say, that it wasn't a fiction, it wasn't some illusion, but it actually had a more practical way of problem solving if you hold up some ideal maybe that we all can be a part of. And when I say all, I mean everyone. White, black, just drop it. Let's all become more powerful people, not be the victims, not suffer from this persecution complex. And then you have to have somebody to protect you, and that's when you get the security state. That's when you get government and laws and more laws and more laws and more laws, all to protect you. And it's just a downhill road. I can't help but think it's just a downhill road, and the opposite is exactly what we're needed. And I know it scares people half to death to think of personal responsibility, or that more might be required to be on your shoulders than less, even more, to deal with the planet on its ecological problems or political problems. And that's a thing too, isn't it? The climate. Isn't that exactly what we're talking about? It's the climate of our time, and this climate of fear and hatred is not good. Not good, people. And how do we muster up the courage in our daily lives to just not participate? Now, here in California, I will say that there is a series of bills that have been passed. I'm going to step away for a second. Oops. I've been carrying this newspaper around with me. It's like my only evidence. And I had a great talk a few days ago with a local public works director. And I think the public works directors of California, all of them, are probably the people to talk to in this world who really know what's going on. And and our media is so not brave is the word. So I think a lot of them know. But the headline is Marin balances local look with housing density laws. I've spoken about this. And are we really balancing it? Oh my God. Under the current scheme, the state would assign Marin the task of creating 4,156 units available to individuals. Let's see. Individuals with very low income. 2,380 units for people with low incomes. 2,182 for people with moderate incomes. And 5,653 units for people with above. Anyways, if I do the numbers, the 4,000, 5,600, 4,100, that would be 4,000. That's almost 10,000. Then 2,000. So it's about 14,000 units in Marin County. A unit is one apartment. A 50-unit apartment house is very big. Look at the 57-unit place in Fairfax that recently got built. And imagine how many of these 50-unit apartments in Marin you're going to need. Now it's being driven under the so-called crisis of affordable housing crisis. We've got the racism crisis. We've got the environmental crisis. We've got, so we break down the racism crisis into the Black Lives Matter crisis, down to the Asian hate crime crisis. And the mass shooting crisis, which is part of it too. And the state of California's plan is to require our, what is a small community, to expand greatly. Not only that, it was such an interesting thing that they're going to have a new blueprint for development. Objective design standards. This is it just seems right. They are absolutely creating the Soviet model of housing. The idea of objective design standards is to clarify your standards and streamline a process for building multifamily housing that is acceptable to the community, or in keeping with the community context, said Supervisor Stephanie Moulton-Peters, who helped create more subjective design guidelines in Mill Valley. Over the last several years, in other words, they're going to create a overarching design that will enhance the beauty of Marin County. 800 sites the group has focused on are zoned for a maximum of 20 to 25 units. I can't do the math. 800 sites and 14,000 units. Oh, it just gets me. Oh my God, talk about mental health. Can we say no to some of this stuff? Anyways, I've rambled on too much. I don't know where we're going. Did I say anything positive here, people? This is me, Guy. Write me at P.O. Box 694, San Anselmo, California. I'm behind the times. If there's a young person out there who finds this vaguely interesting, you must be crazy, but I love you. And I don't know. Believe, kids, believe. We're going to make it through. Small is beautiful. We don't have to grow. We can just become a new people on the planet there is a path right up the middle. A good path for us all. That's what I say. That's going to be enough, as I say. Cheers. Bye-bye.